largest and most poisonous snail spotted on Grand Bahama. The details straight ahead on the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition.
Grand Bahama to figure prominently in the government's overall new master plan. I'm Joan Davis Rule. That story coming up.
The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, I'm Sabrina Brown. Thank you for joining us. The island of Grand Bahama to figure prominently in the government's new master plan. The nation's leader speaking candidly with our Joan Davis Roll on the plan of action to revitalize this island's stagnant economy.
Local, beautiful, village-like.
In an exclusive interview with ZNS News, the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, while on the northern island of Bimini, made this disclosure, and it involves this island's economic future.
I see great potential. We are presently engaged in discussions on the tourism product in Freeport with persons who would wish to go further in acquiring sort of resorts in Grand Bahama. And so the point for us is now, as we discuss it, we have only held up our discussions because we have just retained an international company called McKinsey & Co. to go into Grand Bahama, primarily to look at what the government's position should be on real property tax and business license fees that are now becoming the subject of an August the 1st decision, or decision before August the 1st.
The nation's chief executive says their efforts will not stop there, as a new Grand Bahama is in the making. The new economic impetus, he says, is centered around the infusion of investor capital.
We have begun to look at Freeport and Grand Bahama through this company and the advice this company will give us, because this is a time now when we must make some major decisions that will, I think, be enduring decisions for Grand Bahama. We're talking to a cruise ship company that wants to build a new port. We're talking to the Grand Bahama Port Authority that has designs about improving facilities down there.
The Prime Minister further states that key economic players on Grand Bahama are moving ahead with expansions.
As a result of our rolling back taxes, we had a commitment from the container port to expand employment, a commitment from other pharmaceutical companies to do the same thing.
East and West Grand Bahama, he says, will also play a pivotal role in the government's new master plan.
We put duty-free provisions in both East and West, so we would expect, therefore, that the benefits of investing outside of Freeport will be seen by all, and that it's going to incentivize the expansion of the economy both in the East and the West and in Freeport.
Joan Davis Roll, ZNS Network News.
The government has made the decision to postpone the referendum on gender equality. That decision was announced in the House of Assembly earlier this month, and tonight a member of the Grand Bahama Christian Council is commending the government for its decision. Shashina Roll tells us why.
Pastor Cedric Beckles of Life Community Church, as well as other members of the Grand Bahama Christian Council, believe that the government made the best decision in postponing the referendum that sought to bring equality among men and women in the country.
For a matter as complicated as this one is, obviously the process of educating the Bahamian has not been broad enough. I commend the job and the effort of the Constitution Committee. But there are real life questions that, and I use this word small man only in the context of understanding the ramifications of the legalization of something that we have that are not properly answered. And any wise government or any wise leadership would postpone something that's not being grasped by its people.
The Constitutional Committee met with local pastors last month to discuss the details of the referendum and what those changes would mean for women. While only a handful attended the meeting, many said the informational seminar was educational. However, Beckles says he does not believe the committee has done a good job convincing the Bahamian people, particularly when it comes to Bill Number 2.
I do not believe that the general public has a clear understanding of equality and same-sex. Because in the world in which we live in today, maybe not in our country, but in every other country including the one that overshadows us, this equality in same sex has a totally different meaning. And the practice of that has a totally different meaning than what we are getting in this referendum. And what makes us so different that we won't use the same process and outcome that's being practiced right across the waters. And I think that's the greatest concern for the Bahamian.
Pastor Backholz also believes that the government's decision to go against the will of the people after the gambling issue had an effect on this referendum and will present a challenge in the future.
Yes, it does create a mistrust in the minds of the general public as to the credibility of the government and their concern for legitimate majority rule.
A new date will be announced in due course following consultation with important stakeholders. Shoshina Roll, ZNS Network News.
Controversy brewing involving educators on a northern island, and tonight the area vice president for that area says they are not backing down. Joan Davis-Roll reports.
Educators on the island of Abaco are disgruntled. The bone of contention is reportedly a new policy introduced by the Ministry of Education, which they say goes against the union's industrial agreement. ZNS News spoke via telephone with the BUT's area vice president for Abaco, Chantel Cox, on this controversial issue.
We would have received a circular a few weeks ago, an unsigned circular that seeks to change the work hours for teachers. Based on our collective bargaining agreement, teachers' work hours are 8:45 to 3:15. This circular has students arriving at 8:45 and it's requesting teachers to come to work a quarter of an hour before that time, which will be 8:30. This is in direct violation of the agreement that we have with the government.
Some 160 teachers, she says, make up the Abaco district, and some 30 educators are being affected.
The stand that we have taken is every morning until we would have gotten an audience with the director, the district superintendent on Abaco, and the principal of Central Abaco Primary. We are going to assemble each day at 8:30 in front of the school and not proceed into the school gate until 8:45.
She notes that educators in other districts are not requested to comply with this change.
I would have tried to get clarity on it because I would have spoken to the director via text and on the phone, and he is saying that this circular was sent out to all schools within the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. However, based on my understanding and my conversation with schools, administrators in the other district, they are not following this. Teachers are not being marked absent until 8:50 because they are to report to work at 8:45 and there is a 5-minute grace period.
Cox says teachers affected in Abaco are prepared to stand their ground.
We are sticking with our agreement that we have with the government, which states that the work hours for teachers is 8:45 to 3:15.
Joan Davis-Roll, ZNS Network News.
Now, we reached out to the Director of Education, Lionel Sands, for comment on this issue, but he wasn't available and our calls were not returned up to news time. In other news, 2 people arrested in eastern Grand Bahama for possession of dangerous drugs and an illegal firearm. According to police, officers of the Drug Enforcement Unit executed a search warrant and discovered 2 black bags containing just over 23 pounds of suspected drugs, a number of clear plastic wraps of suspected marijuana, a brown box containing a kilo of suspected cocaine, and a black Glock pistol with 2 clips containing ammunition. A 42-year-old male and a 28-year-old female were both arrested and taken into custody. The estimated street value of the cocaine is said to be $22,000. The value of the marijuana is around $23,500. Both suspects are expected to be arraigned before the magistrate's court. Poisonous giant snails found in communities on Grand Bahama, and tonight a local pest control expert is sounding the alarm. He says the excretion from the snails can be deadly. As Shoshina Roll tells us, a special warning has been issued to backyard farmers.
This is the largest and most poisonous snail, and guess what? Quite a number of them have been spotted on Grand Bahama Island. Now, a local pest expert is warning backyard farmers, children, parents, and everyone to be on the lookout for these deadly creatures. Operations Manager of Budget Pest Control Hugh Ferguson says it was a resident in the Lucaya area who first discovered the creepy crawler. Once collected, his counterparts in the United States identified the snail, known as the giant African land snail. This snail is not just large in size, but is also very, very dangerous.
This particular species can carry a particular nematode that causes meningitis, and so it should not be handled by residents, and obviously it should not be played with by kids and so forth. So it's a very serious, and it also poses a threat also to pets as well.
The excretion from the snail, he says, can cause meningitis, which is an inflammation of the delicate membranes that cover the brain and spinal cord. Ferguson says meningitis is a deadly disease. He adds that these snails are an agricultural threat as well, as they attack over 500 plants, so backyard farmers are also at risk.
Backyard farmers got a habit of, picking a fruit and just biting into it because it's from their own backyard. And however, if the snail would have, for instance, been over that area the night before, the snail would have left that infection there on the plant itself, that contamination.
He says these creepy crawlers can lay up to 1,200 eggs, and very little research has been done on the giant African snail. Ferguson says so far these snails have been spotted all over Grand Bahama, but notes that the state of Florida is also battling with a giant African snail.
But knowing whenever things are in Florida, they have a tendency to just come on the next boat, I guess. So we always expect that.
This type of snail can be identified by the inward curl of the shell and can grow up to 15 inches. Here's what he says you should do if you come in contact with the giant African snail.
What I suggest people do is really call the Department of Agriculture, and they then should come out, collect them, and then dispose of them properly, which the method that I understand to be most effective would be to burn them.
Now, Ferguson says these deadly snails also have cannibalistic behavior. Last week, Thursday, when he collected this jar of snails, 8 were inside. Now only 2 remain. It's not hard to tell what's going to be dinner tonight. Shashina Roll, ZNS Network News.
Thank you, Shashina. Stay with us. There's more news after this.
Bringing news that matters to you. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition.
Welcome back. The Underwater Explorers Society, UNEXO, is known for its wide range of dive experiences here on Grand Bahama, but the company is also involved in the business of preservation. Megan Shepard fills us in.
Dive Master Christina Zanotto says for the past 20 years, UNEXO has offered a program free of charge to public high schools on Grand Bahama. The program aims to teach students about the importance of coexisting with nature, especially the underwater world. Zanotto says they teach students that once we protect the ocean, we protect ourselves and our future.
We have this program where we teach all the Bahamian kids out of the high school, and by preserving the environment with a healthy reef and the shark dive and the dolphin dive, they also preserve themselves as a future and as a job, where if we start destroying it or exploiting it all the time, there's nothing left. So the educational program that we try to do is protect the ocean, and you protect yourself, but you also protect your future and the future of your children.
Zanotto says they are particularly proud of the program because of the successful students who have passed through and now have careers in the field.
So the Bahamians are not here anymore. They actually went and branched off in many different directions. What I find very rewarding right now is with many of them that I've trained through the years, and I saw them when we were here at 12, 13, 14 years old. Now I can actually work with and call them my colleagues, and that's absolutely amazing.
She says while on dives, she emphasizes that it is important to not only protect yourselves, but to take care when interacting with marine life. She explains key points to remember.
The recommendation we give them is basically look, don't touch, and basically don't pick anything up as a souvenir. And those are the 3 rules that we give to divers, but it can go to anybody, like little things like don't throw garbage out of your car, don't throw garbage on the beach, because eventually it will come back to us in some kind of way.
Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
It is said to be one of the oldest schools on Grand Bahama, and it is still making a big contribution to the public education system on this island. Holmes Rock Primary School is celebrating its 75th anniversary. On Monday, students past and present, faculty, parents, and community members gathered at the primary school grounds for a special celebration. District Superintendent for West Grand Bahama, Mary Cooper, says she's proud of how far the school has come, and she is certain that the future will be just as bright.
This has always been a community school, and it continues to be a community school. If you look around here this morning, you can see that the majority of the community, they're represented here this morning in the parents, how they have turned out full force to celebrate this legacy that Mr. Walter Parker himself has left. As you know, Mr. Walter Parker, whose name is on one of our schools in the Freeport area, was really the first headmaster here at this school. And so we, here at Holmes Rock, we have a solid foundation in education. And as I said before, the legacy of excellence in education continues.
Bakisha Parker Edgecombe, a former graduate of the Holmes Rock Primary School, was the guest speaker. She provided words of encouragement for the students.
So if you're at a C, you're going to aim for a B. If you're at a B, you're going to aim for an A. And if you get an A, that is where you stay. The A is the best grade that you can possibly receive. But guess what it takes? What does it take? Hard work.
The Grand Bahama Shipyard has adopted the Holmes Rock Primary School. Over the past year, the shipyard has painted the classrooms, benches, and murals and supplied water coolers for the students. A local film producer is making waves in the industry. CEO and founder of Prince Louis Projects, Nathaniel Lewis, has produced Politicking in Paradise and Frappa avec Amour, among others, and now he's doing even bigger things. He says he's in the last stage of development for his debut feature film.
It's going to be very different from my other projects. It's obviously going to be a full-length movie, and in addition to that, it's going to be very romantic, very, very romantic. And so I'm incredibly excited about that project. It's going to be my largest undertaking to date, and it's definitely going to be a film that's worth watching. I think it's a very unique story behind it, and I'm excited to make the movie. It's going to be made this coming fall, and look out for it to begin to roll out in the film festival circuit early next year, early next spring, and then ultimately in theaters by summer or fall of next year.
This is Nathaniel's fourth movie and first feature-length film. Lewis is calling on Bahamians to support the film industry, which he says is a very viable sector.
This is the only industry in this country where the government will actually give you funding just to make your product. That is, without even selling the movie, without even distributing the movie. For the mere fact that you made the movie, there's financial incentives for it. Like, why more Bahamians aren't investing in film, I have absolutely no idea. But I can say that Grand Bahama is, without a shadow of a doubt, the Hollywood, not only of the Bahamas, but of the Caribbean. We're right next to South Florida. We're the bridge between the Caribbean and North America. We've got great financial incentives. We've got great people, amazing hospitality.
And that's a look at news, but don't go away. Sports is up next with Ricardo Liborn.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Sports and Ricardo Liborn. This one goes out to my good friend Woody Sweeting. Woody, you're not out of the woods yet. The Grand Bahama Amateur Softball Association Fast Pitch Playoffs, folks, they are ready to start. Last night, it was the Controlled Chemical Sweepers defeating the Rising Couriers 7-0, which means the second season will start tomorrow. The Grand Bahama Amateur Softball Association completed its fast pitch regular season and will start its playoff Wednesday night. Public Relations Director Desmond Big Country Dean laid out the first round of the playoffs.
In the ladies and men's division, Candy's Wolverines would have gotten the bye. They won the pennant, so they get a bye into the championships. And in the men's division, Pat's Uniform, formerly Alnet Excel, they will get the bye in the men. So we get in the ladies and men's division tomorrow night, second and third place teams playing a best-of-5 series to advance to the championships.
The GBSA is inviting Grand Bahama to patronize the league this week and the weekend as Statoil shares in the festivities.
Oh, Saturday night is going to be fun-filled. We got an evening of slow pitch starting at 5 p.m. And Statoil in the east, they're going to be coming up. They're having their fun day that day, and they're going to join us that evening for softball at the park. All of their employees are going to be out there, and they're going to join us for a fun-filled evening. We got lots of prizes and surprises, raffles, gifts we're going to be giving away, and it's going to be a real good time Saturday night. We want the Grand Bahama public to come out and be a part of it. Tomorrow night, Friday night, fast pitch action, and on Saturday night, some slow pitch action.
The GBSA is ready for the playoffs and a trip to the finals and the BSF Nationals on the line. The season, he says, was very productive.
It's been a very good season. As with all organizations, you meet challenges. We have certainly met ours, but we have overcome all of them. I think we are winding down what I could term a very successful season. We brought back the inter-island play. We had a few softball tournaments, and they were responded. We had good response from the general public and as far as team participation is concerned. There is one big tournament we wanted to pull off at the end of the season, a fast pitch tournament. That is not going to come off just due to time constraints. But we are looking at kicking off the next softball season next year with a big tournament.
Sound like a minute. The Abaco Softball Association playoffs will continue tonight in the Murphytown Ballpark over there in Abaco. Simple Solution Sharks, Hopetown Wreckers. They will play at 8 o'clock, and the Sharks lead that series 2-1. Also, let me tell you that the 5-on-5 Madness basketball tournament is being played, folks, at the Gateway Sporting Arena down there in Bimini. The Panthers defeated the Hawks 51-38, and Lil Joe scored 17 points in that one. The Falcons over the Vipers 46-42. Johnny Bolag had a good one with 21 points, and the Eagles down the Cobras 41-32. Jay Goodman and also Kimi Doden both netted some 12 points. The Cobras down the Vipers 45-34. Manny Francis, good game, 17 points, kiddo, and the Eagles over those Panthers 38-34. Cordero Carter with 13 points, and the Falcons, they've lasted the Hawks, get their score 44-17. Dario Saunders, that's a baseball kid, had 12 points in that ball game. Well, it is actually October's Day Cancer Awareness Month for you, and guess what, folks? You need to put October 11th on your calendar. The reason? It's called the Relay for Cancer. The Relay for Cancer and Road Race is an October tradition and is scheduled for the 11th. Well, like last year, the expectation is high as far as participation in the relays. Raquel Hart knows the importance of the Relay for Cancer, and she supports the factors.
So we believe in this cause. We believe in what is being done to assist persons in the community who are plagued with this unfortunate illness of cancer.
It's a win-win situation as October is Cancer Awareness Month, and there are some pretty good reasons and rewards to participate.
Last year we offered a few prizes. This year we're going to have tons and tons of giveaways throughout the event. We're also looking for greater participation from the athletic school department, as well as the Grand Bahama Secondary Athletic School Association, as well as the wider community of Grand Bahama. And all the fitness enthusiasts, we encourage you to participate. You can go visit fasttrackmanagement.com, the website, or you can also visit the Fast Track Management page on Facebook for updates throughout for the next few months in reference to Relay for Cancer 3.
Make it a reality, Grand Bahama. Support the Relay for Cancer. I got to say to George and Giza, the guys over there by RH, you guys behave yourself tonight, okay? That's a look at sports.